Welcome to the FaceTime segment. Today I'm bringing you live on an exclusive interview of a crisis that shook the whole world, of a missing air flight MH370. Joining here with me is Krishnamuthaly, who is an expert in crisis communication and a veteran journalist. He's also the CEO of Krishna and Associates, and he will be bringing us the true analysis and information on what happened, why it happened, and what are the lessons that we have learned through this crisis. Thank you, Krishna, for joining us here.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. And before I begin, let me say a word of prayer for these people who are suffering and their relatives in this crisis.
Yes. All right. So you have been in the press conference for the last 25 days. Now, how would you describe the handling of each day of the authorities? How would you describe that?
Not all the 25 days. There were days when I was off, not working with foreign TV or foreign newspapers, assisting them in the production of their programs.
Definitely, yes.
And it came out quite clear that these people were not really trained in crisis communications and crisis management. And many people think that talking to the media is an easy thing. And we saw it. We saw some officials dancing, swaying from left to right. We saw very depressive faces. Yes, it is the death of 239 people is a depressive situation,
Definitely.
but you don't have to show a very depressive face. You are reflecting the organization. And I told this to some airlines officials. And even I told the gentleman who was standing up there and telling him that you are dancing, swaying from left to right from the authority. And he said, yes, some of my friends have told me. I said, be like Prime Minister Najib, anchor your hands and stand straight. So perceptions are created the moment you try and do things that are not natural. And people are watching you. The whole world is watching you. At 5:30 Malaysian time, the whole world is watching the press conference. So these people, some of these people were obviously not trained. But for Minister, the acting Minister, Dato Sri Hishamuddin, he did quite well. He did quite well.
Right.
He answered the questions and he reiterated the key messages.
So how would you describe it? Do you think it was good, the way they handled it? Was it at the greatest?
You have to mark each person individually. Hishamuddin, good. Sometimes excellent. The other officials, not so good, below average. And it's all because they were not trained. If they were trained, I understand some of them were trained by Westerners, foreigners. And if they were trained by these foreigners, that means foreigners accepted average performance. And it showed clearly. It showed clearly.
Right.
So we cannot go for mediocre presentations. And the whole world watched you. And everybody, I mean, I'm not the first one to say this.
Is it true that they were hiding something from the public? Because these were the conspiracies and the criticisms that the public was showing, that they are hiding something from them. Is that true?
It came out that way because they may not really be hiding anything, because, I mean, here's a plane that's gone into the vast expanse ocean and nobody can find it. And it's very difficult to find. What you're finding is satellite rubbish every other day. It's, yes, we found it. Satellite rubbish. What is it? Satellite rubbish. Now, these people have given impressions like they were hiding the truth. And that is because they were not trained in crisis management and crisis communications. And if they were trained like Hishamuddin, they would have performed well.
Well, let's say you were handling the crisis management. Right. How would you have done it?
I would have insisted that before the press conference, there is a mock drill you know, a mock press conference within the four walls. I would have insisted that they answer the questions, because having one foot in the, you must have one foot in the, with the journalists, feel the questions they're going to ask, then have a mock drill with them, then they go for the press conference. They would have come out super. But none, I don't think none of this was done.
Why wasn't it handled the way you
because,
just said?
like I said, you know, Westerners, we were advised by Westerners who, you know, that passionate feeling for Malaysia, Malaysia, you know, the passionate feeling for the leaders, so that they are portrayed well, wasn't there. And I would have insisted that they had a mock drill. And hello, this is nothing new. Obama, the president of United States, has a mock drill before he appears before the public. So what's wrong with a mock drill?
Why were Westerners employed to advise the officials, you know, on this?
Westerners have been advising the Prime Minister since Badawi days.
So could we blame the Westerners that it did not go so well?
We really can't blame the Westerners, because the performers were our people.
But then
maybe the Westerners did not train them further. One training, two training, you know, or two trainings, and that's it, you know. And you didn't really, and sometimes even the CEOs or, you know, heads of departments, authorities think they know it all. And this is the biggest and the greatest mistake they are making. When they think they know it all, and here before the public, they perform badly. They perform badly.
Is it why that media briefings were cancelled 2 times already? Are they trying to avoid something? Are they trying to avoid the media?
Not really. They're not really trying to avoid the media. They want to say certain things, and sometimes investigations hold them back. You know, it took them about more than a week to finally say that some satellite images are showing. It took them 7 days to come back and say the plane did, the flight did a U-turn back, and some of these things were already known, and the Western media has said these things before even they announced it.
So what was the problem here? Why was it delayed?
Maybe we were a little conservative. We were conservative, and like the Australians, they were very forthcoming. You know, we were watching it was very clear. We were watching the 5:30 press conferences, and then suddenly one morning we saw the Australians take over, and there was live all over the world how Australians handled the media, and they didn't hide anything. It was so clear, evidently clear, and very vivid, that they were very open in talking to the media. And there were times we were running away from the media. You know, it was seen clearly. You know,
was it because the crisis happened in Malaysia, that's why it was difficult for us compared to the Australians?
No, not really. I think the Australians, it's their first language, and you know, they're so used to it. They didn't, and they were probably trained not to, you know, hide anything.
So the most important thing here is that the officials were not trained adequately.
Exactly, that's the word. Were not trained adequately, because it came out very clearly.
Now it is getting more devastating that the MH370's black box is going to run out of battery in the next 1 week. What's your take on that, and what's going to happen next, in your opinion?
Okay, if the black box runs out of battery, there's going to be more and more speculation. Until and unless...
Is media to be blamed for this speculation?
Not really. Media has to fill the pages, fill the airtime. The reason is media has to entertain its audience, educate and inform the audience. So they will be looking for various sources, various intelligence officials, various families, various authorities, and they will be quoting sources, and will be getting more and more speculation if the black box is not found. But in the event Boeing has some form of track or trace of the recording through any of their devices, then I think it's only fair for Boeing to come out and reveal it if the black box is not found.
And of course, this Sunday, 29 members of the Chinese members that have come down right now, last Sunday, they have come down and they want evidence that the plane has actually crashed. Now, what are they going to do and how are they handling this crisis?
Well, today, or yesterday, there was a the China Daily was a little critical of the way the Chinese were behaving, their own nationals. They said, be fair to the Malaysian government. You know, any government could have been caught in this crisis. And the Malaysian government is doing all its best with 25 other countries in the search and rescue operations.
Yes.
Now, so, and today, I just heard on the news, the Chinese government telling the Chinese people, you know, please bear with them, you know, don't go down. But, you know, on the other hand, it's easy to tell these people, but they, these people are again, you know, next of kin, blood relatives, you know, and they feel, they don't know whether they are alive, you know, according to some speculation,
right. Yeah.
or are they really, you know, have they really gone down into the Indian Ocean?
So what's going to happen next? I mean, they've already arrived here. What do you think are they going to do?
Well, the search and rescue operation, like Malaysia and yesterday Australia said, will go on, and they'll be using the latest technology to track the black box in the next 1 week or so. And
what if the battery runs out and they still have not found any kind of debris?
Then you will get more and more speculation. News will be filled with speculation.
So let's assume that if ever there is no debris found, which has happened in the last 25 days, what will be the situation for Mars?
Mars will be really in a difficult position. It will be in a difficult position. They are already in a difficult position. You know, the way things were handled. You know, like from day one, Malaysia Airlines used some Westerners to talk in English, or even Malaysians to talk in English, and then it was translated. When you go to a kampung, let's take a kampung in Malaysia, and there's a crisis in a kampung, and what do? You solicit the assistance of the Ketua Kampung. Go with him, talk with him, then talk to the people with him on your side. Here they didn't do that. They didn't identify anybody from the Beijing community who could speak Mandarin very well, who had counseling, psychology, psychiatric abilities from day one to talk to the people. No, we used our people. We try to impose our culture onto them.
Yeah, so they shouldn't have employed all these Westerners, you know, to go. Rather than they should have employed a Chinese
from the local
China,
community, an acceptable figure, just like the Ketua Kampung. You go to Kampung crisis there, the Ketua Kampung is an acceptable figure. So use somebody, a change agent, a person who's familiar with them, or even solicit some of the family members who are good in psychiatry or psychology, identify them, hey, come, join with us and, you know, talk to them. So there was this strange or, you know, this distant kind of communicating the message.
Now let's go back, okay, on what actually happened. Now the Air Force did not cease to stop MH370. Do you think there was some weakened national security here?
Well, many newspapers and media have come out with the Air Force was, or the radar controllers were caught napping. They didn't see it, you know.
Yeah, so they were sleeping on the job.
Right, they're sleeping on the job. And this happens, and it's been going on for a long time, and you know, probably, and suddenly, you know, you turn back and nobody saw it until some other satellites noticed it. You know, so it requires Malaysian authorities and
So was it a
pulling up the socks.
Was it a failure, you know, for Malaysian intelligence by allowing the flight to cross over? I mean, it could be a massive failure.
It could be a failure, you know, because we didn't react. We didn't react. I know several other countries, when they saw aircrafts, strange aircrafts in their airspace, they immediately send out their aircrafts to tail them and ask them to get out of the airspace, or air traffic controllers told them.
So it has definitely been a massive failure, you know, by the Malaysian intelligence.
You can't say massive failure, but you know, we erred, and sometimes they'll say it's human to you know, it's to err is human. And
to err is human.
Yeah.
Right. Now, being an expert on crisis management,
Not an expert,
of course, you're an expert for the last 25 years. You've
training people, yeah.
training people for workshops, and you know, being really niche in this market, and also a veteran journalist. Now, have you ever seen anything like this on this scale?
No, this is the first time. First time Malaysia has experienced such a big. The earlier things were the Japanese Red Army, and you know, other things like the flight crash in Galang Patah in '95 or '96, but not to this massive scale. And today, what we are having is, you know, live. The world is watching us. Immediately, people put it out on Twitter, Facebook, online, all the social media. We didn't have those things those days. So information is being disseminated at a rapid pace. You don't have 4 hours, or you have to solve those problems in 4 minutes, because people are tweeting it. You know?
Exactly. So, in your opinion, what are the painful lessons that Malaysians have learned through this crisis?
I think that there are many lessons we can learn from this crisis to improve ourselves in future, and to have a better understanding of crisis. We must master the knowledge and skills, and develop our abilities to handle a crisis. And obviously, we need proper engagement with the media. You know, media engagement skills can weather any stormy crisis.
Right.
And once it's mishandled, mishandled communication triggers rumors and speculation. And this is going to go on if the black box is not found, like the question you posed before. Misinformation will aggravate the crisis. Well-managed communication, telling the truth, will lessen the tension. And if a crisis is poorly managed, wrong perceptions are created. Real-time reporting through Twitter, Facebook, online raises challenges. Correctly positioned and leverage messages can turn the tide in a crisis. To improve, we must know what was our weakness and strength, and work on it. Malaysia was on the world map with foreign media clamoring for answers, and we didn't do well. To research, they must research well before they answer. Views from experts were sometimes hilarious, sometimes ridiculous, sometimes factual and fruitful.
So that is the reason why all these speculations have turned so devastating for the families.
Yeah, it could be that too, and because there was so much rumors and speculation. And I think it's time somebody documents this, and I hope to document this, so that we don't have any knee-jerk reactions in controlling information. The world watched us. As a trainer in crisis management, this is a learning experience, even for me. Even for me, because I've never experienced anything like this before. No one is old enough to learn new techniques in managing a crisis. And this is the problem with some of the people who went and faced the media were not properly trained, did not have proper mock drills, practice drills before they went out. They should have practice drills.
So
Even if they had practice drills, if they say we had, then they shouldn't have performed so badly.
Yes.
So what were their Western coaches doing?
Exactly. Krishna, we're running out of time, but yes, we have to know why it happened, and we definitely know that it was a lack of training coming in front of the media and not knowing what to say. And of course, you know, some of the people were sleeping on the jobs, and we can say that we do have a problem, and hopefully we do well in the future if there is any kind of crisis that were to take place. So this is all I have for you now on this special edition of MH370. The last words we heard from the flight was "all right, good night," and it is very sad and devastating, you know, to bear this pain for the families and friends of MH370. So on this note, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we will be back with you in a bit. So stay tuned with us.